Alrighty, so today we are gonna finish off the review for match week number 18. And the good thing about this match week is because there's gonna be two Sunday games, it's kind of evenly balanced in terms of looking at these last six games. On this board, we'll look at the remaining Saturday night game, and then on the other board, I'll look at the Sunday game that happened yesterday. But without further ado, let's get to the first game, which is Sporting KC versus Austin. And this shouldn't be a big surprise that Sporting KC was able to dominate Austin in this one. I mean, this is a microcosm of one team definitely have turned things around after a brutal start to the season, and then the other are just kind of stuck in mediocrity and going in the wrong direction right now. Now, early on, Gallagher would miss wide from long range as in the 12-minute drill you see with headset wide. Actually, I thought Austin started well in this one. It was a promising start for them. They were looking to take the lead, but then Polito scored. So Polito scored in the 19th minute. It was completely against the run of play, and that gives Sporting KC a 1-0 lead. Gallagher did try to respond for Austin, but he puts it high just 8 minutes later before Stuvert would deny LeBeau from close range, and we head to halftime with Sporting KC leading 1-0. It wouldn't stay 1-0 for long, though, in the second half, as in the 47th minute, Robert Castellanos would score here from Polito and Tommy, so a rare goal here from Castellanos. I'm not sure if this is actually his first career MLS goal, but what is Sporting KC getting a 2-0 lead there, and just 8 minutes later, or actually 11 minutes later, Sporting KC would make it 3-0 as Alan Polito would score here from the boat and Volader to make it 3-0 in favor of Sporting KC. And again, this is where I also kind of go back to what I said back in the News of the Week episode where, it's kind of a little tricky if you're Sporting KC of the fact that there's been rumor that Polito could be going back to Chivas, that, Polito, if he's healthy, he's basically like this throughout his time with Sporting KC. He's an absolute goal scorer. But the key is, can he stay healthy? And so far, during his tenure with Sporting KC, it's been more no than actually yes. But I also thought that Sporting KC was just running riot. I mean, defending was basically non-existent for Alston in this one. Though they did get one back in the 61st minute as Dreyusi would score from Zardes to make it 3-1 in this one. And then Dreyusi tried to go for a second one, but he puts it high from point blank, a shot that, yeah, Dreyusi would love to have that one back. I mean, that's one that I think last year this would be a goal that Sebastian Dreyusi would have scored. But this season, Dreyusi has had some problems in terms of getting back to that elite level that he was last season. I mean, I'm not saying that he's bad or anything, but he's definitely nowhere near the almost MVP level that he was when he was going toe to toe with Mukhtar for that MVP award. But there was definitely life for Austin, and if you're Sporting, you got to be careful because this Verdes team has a chance to complete a miraculous comeback like what we've seen last season. But unfortunately, it just haven't really happened a lot this season for Austin. And in the 85th minute, it looked like it was lights out again as Shelton puts it into the back of the net. Problem was he was in an offside position, but he was not to be denied in this game because just 4 minutes later, he would score either way. As he scored here to make it 4-1 in favor of Austin. He can thank Brad Stuver for that because Stuver basically gave up a juicy rebound. And again, that's been the frustration also with Brad Stuver if you're an Austin fan that, Stuver at times he has show up in terms of making some big save. And then there's times where he had these games where he allow a soft one like that. He's a very inconsistent goalkeeper, and that of course made it 4-1 in this game. And also, when things are good for Sporting KC when Kyrie Shelton gets on the score sheet. And likewise, things are bad for Austin if you let Kyrie Shelton score against you. But yeah, that made it 4-1, and that was the final score in this one. Shots in this one, it was pretty close. 15 shots compared to 14 in favor of Sporting KC. But the shots on goal was the difference. 6 shots on goal compared to just 2 that Austin had. Both teams had 5 shots off target. 7 shots that was blocked compared to 4 that Sporting KC had. And possession-wise, Austin did have more of the possession, 64% possession compared to 36% possession that Sporting KC had. But it didn't matter. I mean, Sporting KC, they are just rolling right now to a point where they're actually now up to 8th in the West. And if you would have told me a month ago that this team would get themselves back into the playoff picture, not near the end of the season, but literally in a month, I think every Sporting KC fans would think that I'm still a Peter Vermees supporter and a huge believer in this team. But here we are. They're in 8th place, and again, this happens when you finally break that losing mentality that they had in the beginning season, and also not to mention with most of the starters on this team and their star talented player back from being injured in the beginning of the season. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is RSL and NYCFC. So, every week there has to be a no draw, and it seems like this, of course, was the game to do so. Though, again, this is a game that, for RSL, it is pretty clear that they desperately want Chicho Arango to be suited up and play for this team as soon as possible. And the good news is, he was introduced in this one, which I think, not only that thrill a lot of the fans at the Riot, but after this performance, I know that they're even happier about this signing because I feel like if Chicharango actually played in this game, RSL probably would have won this one. Now, early on, not much happened in the first 10 minutes, though in the 15-minute, Barraza did deny Rubin as he was in on goal. This was a big game for Luis Barraza here, but Morales then heads it wide from the corner, and then Muswaski was also in on goal there, but his shot was crucially blocked by Alfaro. Barraza then denied Muswaski from close range, and again, RSL has had a ton of chances, but Barraza was on his game. The big question is, can't RSL find a way to solve Barraza in this one? Spoiler alert, that doesn't seem like it was the case. Though on the other end, McMath did deny Magno from close range. That little do we know was going to be the only shot on goal that NYCFC and Zach McMath had to save in this one. And then Rubin heads it wide from close in the 37th minute, and we had to halftime with the score scoreless between both of these teams. Now in the second half, Barraza denied Savarino from close, and then Savarino himself missed just wide from long range in the 51st minute as RSL continued to press for that lead early in the second half. Though Crufe did hit the side netting on a free kick, Savarino did puts it high from close range before the post, denying Savarino from close range. That was as close as RSL would get in terms of scoring the goal, but it was definitely getting closer. Like, you just had a feeling that with all this onslaught pressure they were putting against NYCFC, eventually they were going to get one. But again, Barraza was having other ideas because he denied Julio there, but it actually goes right back to Julio. And yeah, I mean, for Julio, he's got to put this one on target. Like, I mean, I know no, it's not easy to do so, but yeah, I mean that's one that hitting the side netting is clearly not good enough. But really, as the time winds down, RSL they would continue to throw the kitchen sink, trying to get this opening goal, and there was no doubt NYCFC was in full bunker mode. Like they were bunkering, they were parking the bus in every way to preserve this 0-0 draw. Unfortunately for them, they preserved the 0-0 draw. As again, it ends in a 0-0 draw. Shots in this one very lopsided. 20 shots compared to just 5 that NYCFC had, but only 4 of them was on goal compared to one that NYCFC had. 2 shots off target with the 11 that RSL has. 5 shots that was blocked with the 2 that NYCFC had. And possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession that RSL has in this game. And while, for RSL, they kind of was just got beaten by a better goalkeeper in Luis Barraza. Again, some of those chances that they have, if Chicho Arango was on the pitch in this game, I guarantee you that he would score at least one or two of those goals. And again, this is why the Chicho Arango signing, it's huge for this RSL team. They just feels like they're missing that goal scored, especially in that number nine position. I mean, if you're still starting Rubio Rubin game in and game out, yeah, you know that they desperately need a number 9. And again, getting Chicho Arango, that is a huge signing, and we'll see what he can do to really get this RSL attack into gear, because there's been times where they haven't been do so and put up these kind of performance where they look like the better team, but they're unable to have that clinical finishing. And if you're NYCFC, I mean, I guess it's a good road draw. I mean, they're getting road points is kind of a rarity this season for NYCFC, considering they're one of the worst team on the road this year. But it's also a draw that's not going to give a lot of NYCFC fans and Nick Cushing any hope that the fact that things are improving. I mean, it is pretty clear that they're also desperately waiting in the summer, looking for some attacker. And also, talk about RSL needing a number 9, and they got one. I'm shocked that NYCFC did not decide to do so. I mean, I'm pretty sure they also would love to have Chicho Arango in this, or maybe even think about getting that guy from Girona, who they send him on loan back, and maybe play for some games to rescue them to a point to get themselves into playoff contention. Because the way that NYCFC look right now, they don't look anywhere close to being a playoff team right now. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next match is the Quakes. So I talked about in the preview that this was a game between two teams that is the immovable object versus the unstoppable force, and it turns out the immovable object won in this one because the Quakes, despite the fact that the Union did had some good chances, and the Quakes had to absorb a lot of pressure. And once again, Danielle, another big game in this one to at least keep the Union only scoring one goal in this one. Quakes keep their perfect home record in this one with a 2-1 win against the Union. And they got the goal scoring early in this one too, as in the 8th minute, Jeremy Abobasi would score from K-Cow to make it 1-0 in favor of the Quakes. And K-Cow, of course, he had a really good U20. Great to see the fact that he's kind of translation into that, because that's been one of the issue I have with K-Cow. I mean, as much as I know earlier, before the season, he had a great January training camp, but just didn't really kind of replicate it as we get into the season. Hopefully that of course will be the case. So again, he won't be available in this game. And I also want to mention that this win was even huger for the Quakes, knowing the fact that in the next game they basically have pretty much they're gonna be playing Quakes 2 player against the Portland Timbers, and that next game it is just gonna be a brutal game, and maybe a game that maybe we could see them finally lose for the first time at home. That being said, as I mentioned, the Quakes lead 1-0. The lead does not last past the 20th minute, because in the 70th minute, Damian Lowe would score from Wagner to tie the game up at 1 apiece, and it's set piece, and set piece again. This has been a problem for this team. This is thing that I'm always very frustrated when I watch the Quakes, where it just feels like it's same old Quakes whenever they do not do a good job in terms of defending set pieces, and especially defending corner. You cannot let Damian Lowe wide open like that. Like, the fact that they let Damian Lowe wide open in the box like that, that was just criminal, no set piece defending, and it's got to be very disappointed, because again they got off to that dream start, and now it seems like the Union had momentum, and it seemed like they kind of smell blood too, because Glesnes looked for the lead uh on the corner, but he hits that one high again. Set piece defending seems like it's becoming a problem once again for the Quakes in this game. Though Daniel did deny Uru from close range, and then Carranza. Oh yeah, he should have scored this one. I mean, as hot as Carranza has been this season, I think Carranza has had some bad misses, and this is definitely one of those. In fact, this wouldn't be the last one that he would miss badly. As 12 yards out, just an open net to shoot. That's got to be in the back of the net, but he missed a sitter there, blasted high from 12 yards out, and he knows it too. Like, he immediately collapsed to the ground. He know how big of a chance that was for the Union to take the lead. But instead, we head to halftime tied up at 1 apiece. Though in the second half, Daniel did deny Carranza in the near post before Cal with fires it high from close. He would do the same thing just a couple of minutes later, and then Gastak would hit one right to Daniel. It was a very quiet game for Daniel Gastak in this one. I thought the Quakes really shut down the Union number 10 and the playmaker. But there was really some good chances for both of these teams to get the well, not the opening goal, but the go ahead goal once again. And it turns out it would be the Quakes that retakes the lead. And it's Miguel Triago. He absolutely hammers this one from long range, as he scored here from Guerrezo to make it 2-1 in favor of the Quakes. Not every day you see a defender and a holding midfield link up in terms of the goals and assist chart, but that's what we get in this one. And again, I would have wrote goal of the week with a question mark, but obviously we know who's gonna win the goal of the week this week, after Lucas Arian just absolutely hammer one from 50 yards out. But Uru was in on goal there, but he was denied by Daniel. And again, Daniel coming up big in this one. Carranza then heads it wide from close range, and the pressure was mounting again for the Union. They were pressing once again for the equalizer, and then he would rob Carranza from close range. And again, Danielle just bailing out this Quakes back line, which I didn't think that they had a good game in this one, but that's kind of what Danielle has done. And that, again, I know it's still early, but Danielle might be the best goalkeeper the Quakes has had since David Bingham left this team back in 2017. I mean, he is just handedly stealing points for the Quakes in this one. Almost kind of doing his Andre Blake impression, which is kind of interesting, because Andre Blake didn't actually have a save in this one too. But in the 77th minute, Kikanovic would puts it wide from close before Montero did puts it high from long range. And really, as the time winds down, yeah, the Quakes were doing their usual hold on to dear life kind of defending, which is something I never like, and I wish they stopped doing that, because we've seen it before. It does not not work. Danielle would then tip over McLean's shot from long range, and then McLean would put it wide from long range in the first minute stoppage time. But in the end, the Quakes, they were able to hold on to win 2-1 against the Philadelphia Union, ending the Union 9-game unbeaten streak in the process. Shots in this one, 19 shots with a 10 that the Quakes has, 7 shots on goal with a 2 that the Quakes had, 6 shots off target with a 7 that the Union has, 2 shots that was blocked with a 5 that the Union has, and possession-wise, 48% possession compared to 52% possession that the Union has in this one. They also mentioned this is actually the first win that the Quakes has had against the Union at home since 2014 when they beat them at 1-0 at Berkshire Stadium. So yeah, this is also an opponent that the Quakes have had a lot of problem in terms of facing recently, especially at home, which makes this win even more impressive. I mean, again, this team. I'm very proud of how this team has performed. And well, there's been times this team has frustrates me, especially with the way that I still don't like how Luchi Gonzalez goes super ultra defensive for the last bit to try to hold on to resort. But at least recently they've done a better job in terms of it, and they're not blowing games left and right like we've seen in the beginning of the season. And yeah, they're now well, they're actually still in fifth place, but they're starting to kind of pull away a little bit between them and the Vancouver Whitecaps. And again, this was a huge win for them, knowing the fact that in that weekend games, like next weekend's game against the Timbers, which is doing the international break, the Quakes are going to be missing a ton of players, and we know this team does not have a lot of depth, and that's why if there is a game, this is a game that if they can get all 3 points, then it will definitely put the pressure off in terms of the next game. Where I know every home game you don't want to lose, but that's a game. Consider how depleted the Quakes are going to be. I wouldn't mind if that was going to be the one where the Quakes are going to finally lose their first home game this season. But as of now, they're still perfect. Them and LAFC is the only team that is still perfect at home this season in the West. And for the Union, I mean, it's just a tough loss. I mean, they did as well as they did, but it's just kind of one of those games where you ran into a decent goalkeeper in Danielle, just keeping everything, and also just the finishing wasn't there for the Union in this one. But that being said, moving on in the next one, Vancouver and FC Cincinnati. So this game kind of almost looked like it was a carbon copy in the last game, where it looks like Cincinnati was gonna get a 1-0 win courtesy of Lucho Acosta. And what's eerily similar to the last game, the goal that was scored by Acosta was literally almost at the same time as he scored against the Chicago Fire. But Ryan Gold had a different opinion about that. And yeah, also Miazga, yeah, he basically channeled back to his 20 form when he made or 2021 form when he decided to still make some bad decision that pretty much cost Cincinnati all 3 points in this one. Now in the first half, Berhalter would blasted high from long range before Vasquez actually danced around a couple of Whitecaps defender and was only robbed by Takioka on the finish. So Vasquez doing his best Messi impression, but for the Whitecaps, yeah, that was not great defending. Like you cannot let Brandon Vasquez dance around like that, like it's a traffic cone whatsoever. And again, they're thankful that Takioka would have robbed them, because if that one went in, you could argue that maybe between that one and the Lucas Arian wonder strike against Chicago to win it, that could be a close conversation of not only goal of the week but goal of the year contention. Brown then clear Boreal shot off the line, and again, it feels like Cincy was giving the Whitecaps a little taste of their own medicine. We know this is the Whitecaps team that likes to go on the transition, but so does Cincinnati, and they did a good job in terms of that. Though Santano did deny Cordoba from close range before Takaoka denied Boreal shot that took a deflection, but it did fall kindly to Baji, whose shot was blocked the way, and then Cordoba would blast it high from long range. So some decent chances for both of these teams, but we do head to halftime, more or less between both of these teams. Now in the second half, Baji would hit one right to Takaoka before Vasquez puts it high from close, since he was pressing early for the lead there. Brown would head one straight to Sautano. Klubo would put it way wide from close, but in the 79th minute, White would hit one on the roof of the net, and you just feel like this game was up for grabs. Like both of these teams were getting some good chances, but who is going to be the one that's going to be the more clinical one? Well, at least at that point, it looked like it was Cincinnati, because, as I mentioned, just like the last game, well, unlike the last game, Lucio Acosta actually didn't start in this one. He came off the bench in this one, and he made an instant impact because he scored here from Miazga to give Cincinnati a 1-0 lead. And you want to know why Lucio Acosta, almost say Lucho Gonzalez for a second there, but you know why Lucho Acosta is definitely in running for the MVP along with Hani Mukhtar? It's basically something like this. I mean, this was just magical from Lucho Acosta. The fact that there's not a lot of players that can hit a chip like that and dink it over the goalkeeper like what Lucho Acosta can do. And yeah, you can see he's definitely feeling it too because that was just a magical chip. I mean, you could argue Takaoka was kind of off his lines a little bit, but make no mistake that is probably one of the toughest finish, and you have to have so much audacity to try to do that. And Costa does it. He does it. Connects it perfectly there on the chip, and it just dinks over Takioga head and gives Cincinnati a 1-0 lead. So looks like we're on our way of what we saw last week, where they would have some Lucho magic, and Cincinnati was gonna get all 3 points, right? Well, like I said, this is where things were would take a bit of a twist for its worse for Cincinnati, because you know how Miazga of course got the assist there. Well, it's basically 0 to 0 moment for him because Miazga basically pushed Cordoba to the ground. He didn't have to push Cordoba to the ground. Like that ball was dinked over. It was very rash challenge there from Miazga there, and yeah, penalty was given to the Whitecaps. Ryan Gold steps up and he's puts it in to tie the game up at 1 apiece, and that would be the final score of this game. Speaking of a game that almost is a carbon copy, I feel like this game was a carbon copy of the last game that the Whitecaps had against Sporting KC, where they were able to score a penalty late to salvage a draw. But in terms of shots in this one, 11 shots with a 10 that Cincinnati has, 3 shots on goal for both of these teams, 5 shots off target with a free that Cincinnati has, 4 shots that was blocked with a free that Vancouver has, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to the 47% possession that Cincinnati has in this game. And overall, I think a draw is fair reserve because both of these teams had their moments, and while Cincinnati will be a little bit disappointed because they had a 1-0 lead only for that to slip away. At least they didn't really lose to any ground, or the team behind them didn't really gain any ground because the team behind them, which is Nashville and the Philadelphia Union, one of them of course also got a draw on the road, and then the Union, as I mentioned, they did lose their game against the San Jose Earthquakes. With that being said, I am now going to switch boards and now look at the Sunday game from match week number 18. All right, so now we get to the Sunday game, and we start off with St. Louis versus the LA Galaxy, the battle between the top team in the West versus the team that is at the bottom of the Western Conference. And this game is kind of a reminder of how, even though you would expect the team at the top of the standings to get an easy win, not so fast. Because I thought the Galaxy actually played pretty well in this one, and you can sense that after Chicharito went down with that 20 ACL, that they were definitely playing for him in this one and show a lot of character in this game. In the first half, the first shot of the game did see Calgary pulls it wide before Parker would heads it high from the corner. As I thought the Galaxy, they were actually looking comfortable early. I mean, St. Louis did try to go with their usual press, but the Galaxy was pretty comfortable in terms of playing out of that press, though that unfortunately wouldn't stay for long. Though Costa then pulls it wide from close range. This was actually one of the rare times that Douglas Costa actually had a good game for the Galaxy, and I think that pretty much sums up why the Galaxy play well. Because if you can have your work performing player to play well, maybe something good is going to happen in this game. Shroud then was on the doorstep of goal, but he completely mishits that one. Yeah, Jared Shroud would definitely want to have that one back. He's been having a good year this season. In the 16th minute, Puig would then puts it over the bar. This game felt very open. I mean, there was chances on both ends. Stroud would then hits one right to Bond before Vasilev would hits it high from close range. And I thought the press started to be effective for St. Louis. They were started to really catch this gap team out at the back, and the Galaxy was really having trouble playing out of it now and turning the ball over in bad spot. Though Berkey did deny Joveljic from the near post before Joveljic himself puts it high from close in the 27th minute. Leuven then hits it right to ball before Parker would also heads it wide, and St. Louis was definitely pressing late to trying to get the lead before the first half. The ref then was told that he really sucked because, yeah, why not? Sometimes we got to remind my pro and all the referee that they really suck in terms of some of the the decision that they made. But we do head to halftime with this game scoreless, and in the second half, straight off the bat, St. Louis was pressing hard again, trying to catch the Galaxy out again, which again it was pretty successful because once again the Galaxy was being very sloppy in their own half and giving the ball away in bad spot. Puig then hits one right to Berkey before Leuven would puts it just wide from close, and then he curls one wide from long range in the 61st minute. And again, momentum was with St. Louis. You can just had a sense that they were knocking on the door that they're gonna get that opening goal, and they did. It's Giacchini scoring from Vasilev to make it 1-0 in favor of St. Louis. And I talk about incredible goal finishing. This was also an incredible finishing from Giacchini. I mean, this one was kind of behind his back, and yet still somehow he was able to get enough to put the pass ball in there. Yeah, that was an incredible finish there for St. Louis, and well deserved a 1-0 lead. And then it could have been 2-0 if it wasn't for Baum robbing Vasilev from point blank, and momentum again, all with St. Louis. They were pressing to kill this game off. Parker would blast it high in the near post. Puig would hit one right to Berkey. Pompeo then flash it wide from close. But then in the 85th minute, after surviving a lot of heavy storm and kind of had that bend but don't break mentality that the Galaxy defense have, got themselves the equalizer. Gary scoring from Costa here to tie the game up at one apiece, and that would be the final score of this game. Because despite St. Louis did try to press late again to get that winning goal, they weren't able to do so. And I believe this is actually the first draw that St. Louis has had in their franchise history. Actually, let me just make sure that is the case. I'm pretty sure that's the case because I don't remember they actually draw a game this season. Let me just check that is the case. Oh, actually no. They have actually drawn a game. I think actually which game did they draw there? Let me take a look. I think it was against Colorado that they drew 1-1 in that one. But this is the first time that they have drawn at home this season, and that yeah, again, for St. Louis, they will be very frustrated in this one, and Bradley Carnell will be frustrated the fact that yeah, they were the better team in this one, but they just could not quite find that finishing. Shots in this one, 22 shots for the 12 that the Galaxy had, 5 shots on goal for the 6 that St. Louis had, 11 shots off target for the 5 that the Galaxy had, 2 shots off block for the 5 that St. Louis had, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to the 45% possession that St. Louis City has in this game. But moving on into the last game on this board, is the Timbers and FC Dallas. And, coming into this game, I was so concerned that this was going to be a boring game. And it turns out it wasn't a boring game. In fact, this was the Martin Paz show. And I feel really bad for Martin Paz in this game because he did everything in this game to keep Dallas in this. But his offense let him down in this one. And the Timbers just able to do enough to get one pass to get the 1-0 win. Early on, they looked like they got a penalty just 2 minutes into this game, but they did go to VAR to see whether or not if Farfan did brought down Mascara outside the box, and he did. I mean, that was on the line there. It was close, but it was pretty clear that it was outside the box. But in the 7th minute, Paredes would hit it right to pause, and the Timbers were on the front foot. Like, they were pressing early to trying to get the lead, and was also putting the high press, and Dallas was having trouble in terms of dealing with it. Pass would then deny Aspria as he tips it onto the post, and then he would rob Evander from point blank. And this is where the beginning of the Martin pass show as he was just single-handedly standing on his heads early, as it was all Portland in the early part of this game. Pass would then deny Aspria from the header as the flag went up. I mean, Pass would have had more save in this one if the flag wouldn't went up. He probably would have had double-digit save if you count those saves that was actually called offside. Shots were 4-1 for Portland up to that point, with 3 of them on target. The ref then was told that he really sucked, but instead of saying ref you suck, they said it in the explicit way. So the whole "fu" kind of ref check that's going on. Yeah, they basically said that, and it won't be the last time that the Timbers faithful and the Timbers Army basically shout that to the referee in this one. Though that being said, in the 35th minute, Timbers finally broke the resistance of Martin Paz as Frank Boley scored here from Evander and Chara to make it 1-0 for Timbers. And to Paul's credit, he actually got a hand to this one. I mean, this was a bullet header from Frank Boley, a point blank header that, yeah, Paws almost kept it out, but just way too much pace on that one. And yeah, the Timbers finally was able to broken the Dallas goalkeeper resistance, but that was not the end of Paws. Just continue to put in an incredible performance because yeah, he was determined to not to make sure that that's the only one that actually get past him there because he would then deny Mascara in the near post in the 43rd minute, and we do head to halftime with the Timbers leading 1-0. In the second half, McGraw would heads it wide from close range. There was more possession for Dallas, but again, I feel like that was by design because the Timbers were looking to sit back and trying to go on the transition, which is kind of their bread and butter. In the 60th minute, Paz would rob Moreno from point blank. And again, Paz once again standing on his heads in this one, single-handedly keeping Dallas in this game and just praying for his attacker to actually do something up to this point. Paz then denied Evander from long range before Jesus hits one right to Bingham as the shots were 10-free for Portland, but 7 shots on goal compared to just one that Dallas had, which is the one I've just mentioned with Jesus hitting one right to David Bingham. So yeah, again, this could have been a very lopsided game if Martin Paz was not in net. But then the Timbers really started to flare it up. So this all started when Chara and Jesus kind of tango in the box. I mean, I was kind of surprised. Maybe they might think about giving a penalty there because Chara, he made no attempt in terms of making this sliding challenge on Jesus in the box. Now, obviously, Jesus he did something that he shouldn't be doing, which is retaliate because he did that. He kind of stomped Chara there on the knees, and the referee must have saw that because he gave him a straight red card. And Jesus, to be fair, he did kind of after he did that, he immediately hold his hand, pretending that he didn't do anything. But yeah, unfortunately, Jesus, in the day of VAR, you're not gonna get away with that one. But yeah, he was kind of still arguing for his case. In fact, he was still arguing of his case as he was being escorted. He had to really be escorted off the field. But then, as he was basically escorting, and they actually closed the door because he's been sent off. They go to VAR to check whether or not if that was a red card, and it turns out it wasn't. Now, again, I mean, I feel like, you could argue it could be violent contact. I mean, you could argue it could have been a red card for both of the players too, because, Diego Char, he made no attempt of playing that ball. It was really a bad challenge to the point when you could say that could be a red on the borderline being a red card. But then, of course, the reaction from Jesus, you could argue that could be a red card too. Like, you can't just stop a player in retaliate and not get himself sent off. But instead, it seems like both players gets a yellow out of that one, and yeah, that must be kind of awkward for the person to keep Jesus out of this game and realize, yeah, he's gonna have to come back on the pitch because the decision was reversed. But that only group gets the Timbers faithful more happier with the referee by chanting the ref you suck in an explicit way once again. I mean, and this was even louder than the one we heard earlier in this game. But Nishikoda then chips it over the post in the 78th minute, and then Lorea would pulls it wide from long range. And again, will these missed chances come back to haunt the Timbers? They have had a lot of chances in this one. We've seen before where teams are being wasteful, and it only takes one chance for Dallas to get themselves the equalizer in this one. Niskoda would then hit one that was actually bobbled by Post, but he's fortunate that no one was there, and he was able to gather. And then Bingham was able to deny Ibiaga from close range. That one actually was going to go wide there, but Bingham was taking no chances there. But yeah, in the end, the Timbers winning 1-0 in this one. Shots in this one, 14 shots compared to 5 that Dallas had, but 8 shots on goal compared to 2 that Dallas had. So Martinez Paz finished with 7 save in this one, but judging by the game he has, I feel like that can't be right. He has to at least save 8 or 9 in this one. Though 4 shots off target for the 2 that Dallas had, 2 shots that was blocked for the 1 that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that the Timbers has in this game. And like I said, for Martin Paz, I'm pretty sure all those Dallas players need to owe Martin Paz an apologies after this game because like he was doing his Brad Guzan impression in this one. He was trying to keep this one as close as possible and keep Dallas in this game. But that Dallas offense just never woke up. And for the Timbers, I would say that this is a good win, and that as much as they're frustrated they didn't get more goals in this one, sometimes when you run into a hot goalkeeper, just as good in terms of getting a win. Running to a goalkeepers than not allowing anything, than not than getting a blowout, because we've seen before where when teams run into a hot goalkeeper that just decided that, yep, I'm not allowing anything tonight, it can be even more frustrating. So yeah, I think Timbers would be happy, and of course now getting themselves back on winning ways, and they have another chance to get another win next week too, because like I mentioned, the Quakes are going to be really shorthanded in that game against the Timbers because of players missing due to international break, and the Timbers, historically they have not had a lot of players have to miss due to international break, so they would definitely be looking at that game, and especially with the way the Timbers has had a good record against the Quakes, both at home and on the road recently. They'll be looking at that one as a chance for them to get all 3 points too. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of this review for match week number 18 and part number 2. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of these 2 games and also the 4 games that happened to finish off my review of the Saturday night action. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.